Hi, and welcome to another AI in 5. As always, I'm your host, Simon Chris. And joining me today is fellow Melburnian Dawid Naude. David's the CEO of Pathfinder. And we're going to be talking about the keys to really scaling AI adoption in larger organizations. Hey, David, welcome to AI in 5. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you and I talk quite a bit. We share a lot of values, things like that around AI. I'd love to know what you're saying. You think about people who have got 2 or 3 licenses of Copilot or ChatGPT Enterprise or something like that, and they're kind of getting there a little bit, but we're not seeing that large scale adoption by organizations. And I know this is an area that you specialize in. What's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's very tricky because it's one of the most deceiving technologies that we've seen before. Yeah, when I say deceiving, it's just strange. It's a very strange technology. I just call it weird tech. We've never had technology before that. Firstly, we don't know what it does when you see it. At least a CRM, you've got buttons and labels and things like that. And secondly, we've never really dealt with technology that has the ability to lie to you,
Yeah,
or uh, has never been trained to do something but goes, I'll give it a shot. Like that. That's crazy. This is very strange technology.
yep,
So when it's deceiving in that it looks like it's simple to use, but it's actually a very strange technology for business users. The biggest, and then it's underestimated what's involved to get people to adopt this. I mean, you're really kind of going against ingrained habits for decades, and that's what organizations typically get wrong. They think that they're doing the right thing. So, for instance, one would be you do a 1 day training,
yep,
but that training needs to be really good, and also it needs to have some kind of process afterwards as well to make sure that people are taking action and checking in and have a level of accountability. People feel great after a one day training, but it often a month later, people are back into their old habits. So that's
of
one of
course.
the challenges.
Yeah, and how do you get around that? Do you use champions in the business or something?
Yeah, so there's only one way to figure this out is, so let's say you're an organization of 1,000 people. Buying 1,000 licenses is at the beginning is a bit of a wasted spend. It's going to be very confusing, very low adoption. So
Yep.
what you need to do is identify a group of champions. These people who are influential, curious, and willing, and
Yeah,
they're going to be your tickers. They need to know their domain as well. This is not, if it's your first day on the job, this is you're not a champion. Ideally, I mean, there's no perfect number for this, but if it's 1,000 people, I'd say anywhere from 20 to 50 would be a good number.
yep,
That group needs to get licenses, get training, and also have special permission. So if you think of a company having policies around AI, you need 3. You need public AI principles that your
yep.
customers, everybody can see.
Got
You
that?
need an acceptable use policy for your organization, but you also need an experimental acceptable use policy. So that
Mm.
champions group needs a level of permission where it's still guarded. So
Yep,
whatever PII, things like that you might be regulated on is protected, but it's okay to try a few different things to see how it works. And there's also a particular process of managing the performance and what they see working or not. That's one of the building blocks is that champions group. In fact, it's the most core thing. Now, that champions group falls flat if your leadership hasn't set high expectations for the champions group. If you're
Good. I
taking
was going
AI
to ask
seriously,
about that.
yeah.
What part does leadership play in this? Yeah.
It's critical. So if your leadership has to say, this is an honor to be nominated for this, and you're paving the way for our whole business to see where the value of AI is, and that's what the champions group do. Is they find the value. They go through the organization. They tried. I tried it in this. I tried it in that.
Yep.
The other thing is you can spin around in circles deciding, do I use ChatGPT or Copilot? All of this. A champions group is a great way to have a portion of them buy separate licenses, do the same
Mm.
things, and share the outputs and the results. So it's a fantastic test mechanism to do all of these things. The final
Like
point,
an AI lab type.
it's an
Mm.
AI lab, but there's a level of structure and accountability. So the next building block is the actual structure. You need to work in quarterly cycles is the ideal time,
Yep.
and a level of accountability. So it's that champions group you say for the next quarter, this is how it's going to run. The accountability is as simple as every 2 weeks, we're having a 1 hour call. You're required to just share what you did so that others can learn from it. So there's actually kind of a level of accountability. The next thing as well is you need to ask questions publicly and get answers publicly. So if you're getting support from somebody to help you with this, instead of these champions contacting that person directly, it's a Teams or Slack channel that the other champions are on because they have the same questions, or maybe they didn't know it could do that thing. So
Yeah.
that's a really, really
Awesome.
important part.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. Well, look, we're right at time, but I don't want you to give away your secret sauce, but I will ask, what would be your one best piece of advice for an organization just starting their AI journey?
Yeah, 100%. Everything is downstream from leadership. So, and leadership shouldn't be creating a PowerPoint on what to do with strategy. They should be learning how to use AI to help them create that strategy. It's very simple. Get a paid uh, business version of ChatGPT like Teams or Enterprise. Start playing with the O3 model. And the first thing to ask it is, how do I use you to help me create an AI strategy? And it's going to tell you how to
Love
use it.
that. Love that. Great advice. David, thanks for being a part of AI in 5.
No worries. Thanks for having me.